Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So, as long as I lead the Israelites through Christ, I will be able to get them safely from Egypt to the promised land. Welcome to Sterling on Sinemas. That's Sinemas with an S. And today on the DreamWorks playlist, I will be giving you my review on the Prince of Egypt, because God has sent me here to give you my testimony, to share my testimony about how I feel on one of the greatest adaptations, on one of the most powerful biblical stories ever to be put to screen. So before I begin, if you are new to this channel, welcome. God has sent you to the right place. And don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment on the section below, share the videos, especially with this one, because I've seen those. God has shown me those numbers on ants, and they have grown miraculously. And most importantly, watch and be inspired, especially by this one, because this review was written with so much heart, because I am a God-fearing man. I, Sterling Still, am a God-fearing man. And I can share a little bit of my testimony, my personal testimonies that are very unrelated to this review, about how he has done so many miraculous things in my life. In this animated retelling of the book of Exodus, the story of the Egyptian prince Moses, voiced by Val Kilmer, who also voices God, upon discovering his roots as a Jewish slave, embarks on a quest to free his people from bondage. When his plea is denied by his brother Rameses, not Ramsey, Rameses, voiced by Fiennes, the new Pharaoh, a series of horrific plagues strike Egypt. Moses finally leads the Israelites to freedom by parting the Red Sea. Because of the power of this, the staff, that is an extension of God's supernatural power, has parted the Red Sea. And I know when we think of the character Moses, that's what we associate him with, even though there was so much more before that event, parting the Red Sea. And that was an integral part. That was an integral segment in getting the Israelites from point A to point B, and as well as drowning the Egyptian army. God then gives Moses the 10 Commandments. And for Christians, they are a list of rules that God expects them to live by, the 10 Commandments, with one of them being, thou shalt not worship any other gods before me. That includes the Pharaoh. Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. That means do not say the name God unless you are praying or unless you are worshiping. Honor your mother and father. Rest on the Sabbath day. Do not bear false witness to something that you were not a part of, meaning do not lie. Honor your mother and father, if I didn't say that already. Yes, that is just, those are a few of the 10 Commandments that he expects us to live by as Christians. Based on one of the greatest biblical stories ever told in history, the Prince of Egypt takes the audience on an exhilarating journey into the life of Moses in his journey of self-discovery. Along from being historically accurate, with the exception of Moses' self-discovery, DreamWorks goes out of their way to magnify itself with grandiose animation, powerful storytelling, and emotionally fueled voice acting. And obviously, the power of God. From start to finish, the movie respects everything that it is trying to adapt while still maintaining its PG-rated constraints. And I know that is not an easy thing to pull off. Have you people seen The Passion of Christ? Yeah, that was kind of graphic too, but it actually happened. Now, as a Christian, I can confidently say that if you are a non-believer who has never witnessed or felt anything supernatural, hence miraculous, a miracle, this is one of those biblical films that perfectly encapsulates why you should feel compelled to turn to God and repent. Otherwise, you will just stay a victim to the bondages of the world. And I know nobody wants to be a victim to not just the Pharaoh, but nobody wants to be a victim to their drinking addictions, to their addictions to porn, their addictions to lying, their addictions to pride or arrogance, or their dishonesty, or their dishonoring, or their disrespectfulness, disobedience, irreverence, etc. The Israelites, God's chosen people, were immensely enslaved for far too long. And the only way they can attain salvation and make it to the promised land, which is the land of milk and honey, and many others, and many other abundant dishes and abundant blessings and treasures, is if they allow God to have his way in each and every one of them. Now, according to the book of Exodus, the second book in the Bible, following Genesis, touching back on the only change in this film with his self-discovery, Moses did not become a prince, but he was brought up in the royal court. In the film, we see Moses accepted into royalty and brought up as a true prince of Egypt alongside his brother Rameses. In the Bible, Moses is well aware he is a Hebrew and not Egyptian, so there wouldn't need to be a self-discovery journey, because he didn't run into in the story, he didn't run into his estranged sister who had to remind him of where he came from and who he was before he was a prince of Egypt. No, he never was a prince of Egypt in the book of Exodus, but they changed that in this film for a story arc's sake. But furthermore, his relationship with Ramses in the film is one of the best parts, with their brotherhood dynamic feeling very convincing, even when you know he was not treated as the brother to the one who would be Pharaoh. Everything associated with Ra, not Raw, Ra, because Raw on the Wednesday playlist is a couple weeks from now. We're going to get there. But Ra, that the Pharaoh has designated to be the supposed replacement for everything God rules over, is something that is within Egypt, but is still mentioned in Exodus. We have a lot of people like that today. We have a lot of people who are just like Pharaoh today. Now, I could say, you can disagree with me, or you can be mad at me all you like, but I feel like Trump is one of those pharaohs in life. He thinks that his way is the best, and if it's not his way, then it's the highway, and he is so much higher than God. His standards, his rules, his regulations are so much bigger than God, but we're not going to get too apolitical. The point of the matter is, people like Pharaoh, there are so much of them in this world that believe that they are above God, and they're the ones that need to be worshipped, and they're the ones that need to get the glory, rather than the person that gave them life in the first place, so that they can be billionaires and be in the top of that office, or be in that penthouse, or making those music videos. They think that they are God. They think that they are the king. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, that is a false mindset to be in. As a Christian, a genuine Christian also shouldn't feel like this. They shouldn't be God. They should be glorifying God. Like me as a Christian, whenever I go out in life, I do my very best to represent and lift God through my actions, but I don't try to be like him. I don't try to replace what people see as God as they see me as God. No, I just allow my actions and my words and my character to exemplify that I am a child of God, and this is who I represent. This is who I follow. This is the celebrity that I follow. This is the news. He is the person I get all the news from. Rotten Tomatoes gives The Prince of Egypt an 80% recommendation. Courtesy of putting tons of justice to the source material, top tier animation, and a captivating story and voice performances, The Prince of Egypt is definitely a DreamWorks treasure to behold. So if you are a big DreamWorks fan, which if you love Pixar, then you love DreamWorks, and you haven't seen The Prince of Egypt in a while, go back and watch it. It is an amazing story. I remember watching this in elementary school, 3rd grade to be exact, because I vividly remember. I know a lot of people, a few people in that matter may not remember their memories of what elementary school was like, but I definitely vividly remember what it was like sitting in that gymnasium, 3rd grade. I don't know. Let's just say I was young in 3rd grade. I forgot. I don't really know which age the 3rd grade would be, But I'm sitting in there watching Prince of Egypt on a 4x3 roll around TV in the gymnasium before lunch. That is the only other time I watched this film. And coming back to this movie today, it hits so much better because when I was young, I didn't understand what I was watching. I wasn't very tied into the Bible. I wasn't tied into my connection with God. I was actually very loose because, I was young. I didn't understand any of this stuff. But now here I am, 20 years old, and I fully understand the power of God in this story and the power of God throughout the Bible. So this film, I would say, deserves 9.5 out of 10, not just because a part of me loves Jesus and respects his supernatural glory that he deserves and so much that he's done and his wrath and what he has fulfilled in people's lives that say yes to him, but because it is just an amazing work of art, period. This film, in the words of one Rotten Tomatoes critic, they say it combines animation sensation with powerful storytelling and Sunday school thematic and Sunday school fundamentals. Let's just put it like that. I may have said that, I may have paraphrased that, but I definitely remember them saying Sunday school. So even if you're not a believer of God, if you went to Sunday school and you've heard this story, you must absolutely love this story. And the Prince of Egypt is not the first to do this, but mixing 3D animation with two-dimensional characters, it definitely sticks out here. They use three-dimensional top-tier animation at their advantage in order to exemplify God's powers and his wrath through the 7 plagues of Egypt, which consist of, I may not remember them all, but excuse me if I don't, which consist of turning the Nile River into blood, frogs, insects, malice, I think. Oh, malice, if that's the right word. But lice, people contracting diseases, people getting sick, people getting pox and moxie and all sorts of things, and the death of newborn children. So all of these things were happening because Pharaoh was refusing to let the Israelites go. And as a result, he unleashed his wrath. Now, God is love, but that doesn't mean God is soft. He loves you, but sometimes he has to show his wrath in order to show you how powerful he is. But he has no intentions of doing what he does because he hates you. He does not hate you. Believe that, you guys. Everything he does, whether it's out of love, supernatural love and his purity, or it's out of his mighty wrath, everything he does is out of love. Even if certain actions that he fulfills onto the people of this earth may be a part of his wrath, he doesn't hate anybody. But let me just say that the Prince of Egypt is a DreamWorks treasure to behold, and it is definitely stands the test of time with its animation, with its story, and with its message. And the message comes that faith goes a long way. It can come a long way from being led to believe you are one thing that the world tells you, versus being who you are and where you came from and following and fulfilling your call to save everybody else around you, or to bring everybody to salvation in order to have their lives to be completely transformed. But that is my review on the Prince of Egypt. You can let me know what you guys think of this in the comments below. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow.